This episode is brought to you by the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. Learn more at slashandcast.net.
There are legends around here.
Who died my G-fucking king of the zombies?
Even if only in their own minds. Forgotten, but not yet dead.
I want to play a game.
Some have tried to stop them, but they keep coming back.
Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Coming to entertain you. They are the Crystal Lake Soldiers.
Welcome back to the Crystal Lake Soldiers podcast. My name is Isaiah, joined tonight by Ted. How are you doing this weekend, sir?
Not bad. Pretty good for the most part.
It's great to have you back. We've missed you the last 3 weeks.
I know. I can't believe it's been that long.
I know. It's felt like forever, dude. But that's all right. That's all right, because Sean and Mark are both not here.
They heard I was coming. They're like, we can't measure up the test.
You heard it here. Oh, good Lord. So tonight we're continuing our Love for Comedies series that we're doing this month for the month of February. This week we're continuing on with The Naked Gun, which is also a great series in its own right. And it's kind of, you know, when you look at slapstick kind of parody comedies, Naked Gun is typically one of the first ones that pops into mind, as well as like Airplane. So it's definitely, you know, a comedy classic with the three movies, and I'm excited to kind of talk about this tonight. Before we get into all that, though, what have you been up to this week?
I just, other than just being busy with work, just watched a couple of movies. This weekend I watched Cthulhu Mansion from Vinegar Syndrome, released by Vinegar Syndrome. Different movie. Really enjoyed it for the most part. It's about this magician and his daughter. They get held hostage by these criminals and are taken. They take the criminals to their mansion so the criminals can hide out because they're a drug deal that went kind of south because their leader's an idiot. He killed the dealer right there, stole the cocaine. Of course, they did this in the middle of an amusement park. So, and then one of the criminals, who's the brother of the girl who's dating like the head guy, the leader of the group, he gets shot in the leg trying to steal a car because these criminals are idiots. They're the worst criminals ever. Anyway, the house is basically haunted. And the poor magician has a horrible past that it's a tragedy that he's gone through. And it was just, a lot of people have said they thought the movie was boring and stuff like that. I didn't think it was boring at all. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's not, I don't think it's the best out of the January releases from Vinegar Syndrome, but
right.
But it's still a good. I thought it was a decent watch, and I finally watched The Candy Snatchers, which was really good. Until the ending, I hated the ending.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, last week, I mean, I watched a bunch of movies because I was just out of it. Watched Clifford, L.A. Bounty, Josie, which was really good. Mm-hmm. With Sophie Turner, Dylan McDermott. Never even heard of this movie. And I'm just browsing the store, and there it is. They got like 2 used copies on Blu-ray, and I was just like, yeah, why not? And I'm glad I did. It's a nice drama, and Kurt Fuller's in it in a supporting role, which in Kurt Fuller's in Rain's World.
Yep.
So you have that. Also watched. I just watched a bunch of stuff. 315, which was a great high school gang movie. I enjoyed that with Deborah Foreman and Adam Baldwin.
Yep.
Also has Ed Lauder from Death Wish 3. Also watched Death Wish 3 because I bought Death Wish 3 also from Ronin Flicks. They're new, and I watched the interview with the Giggler, man. They actually got an interview with the actor who played the Giggler. It was great.
Okay.
It's short. It was only like 8 minutes long, but it's still great. Just something was there. So I mean, and watched just a bunch of movies like that, and watched the Royal Rumble last week, which was fun. So
can't forget about the Rumble.
Nope, really liked it.
Yearly tradition.
Yep.
And I know we were talking about this beforehand, but yeah, this year's Rumble actually felt like a better overall show than last year's. Obviously, last year's you had the live crowd and everything, which helps. But honestly, with kind of the stories going into it and everything, this year's Rumble actually felt like a good pay-per-view for once.
It was.
And it's been a while.
Last year was garbage. I hated last year's.
Yeah.
Freaking Brock Lesnar just tossing people like crackers, or I don't even have a good analogy. It just sucked.
Yeah.
Just sucked. I hated last year's. The women's was good last year as this year, but the men's sucked last year because of Brock Lesnar.
Right.
Hated it.
I mean, the ending of the men's was great for last year, but yeah, I mean, overall, just because of the whole Brock Lesnar fiasco with him just tossing everybody that came out right away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
I will say, I appreciate that they didn't go the more what's the word I'm looking for? Predictable route. Like, Randy Orton's gonna win because he hurt his leg and is in the back, and then he shows up when it's just Edge, and I'm just like, oh, here we go, Randy Orton's gonna win. But no, I mean, Edge won. I was like, holy crap, they actually went with Edge.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a long drawn out thing when he came back out either. He like got right back in the ring, RKO'd him, and then he got thrown out right away. I mean, It was like a total shock and surprise, which I like that they went that way versus trying to drag it out, because WWE can really drag things out that don't need to be dragged out. I mean, I thought it was a great finish for the pay-per-view, and and honestly, I would have loved to see somebody like Big E win, or something like that. But honestly, with Edge coming back and that whole story, I didn't think he would win personally, but I think it's a good story to tell with him, coming back after 9 years and then getting injured, last year, and then coming back from that, to try to recapture the title he technically never lost. So I get that whole thing, and I'm totally behind it. He's the only older person in that match that I would have wanted to win. I wouldn't have wanted to see Randy Orton win again, obviously, because there's just no need for that to happen. But otherwise, I was hoping Big E was going to win the men's Rumble, and obviously Bianca Belair winning the women's Rumble was great. I was either pushing for her or Rhea Ripley to win that, because we definitely didn't need Charlotte Flair to win. Or anything
Charlotte's
like that.
Played out.
Yeah. But yeah,
for now at least,
Yeah, and she's got that whole thing, and we were talking about this beforehand too. Just the whole thing with her dad and everything, interrupting her matches. Now it's just so good.
I love it. It's so Ric Flair. I love it.
It's like the perfect role for him at this point in his life and his career.
I'm flipping jealous of Ric Flair. That's all I gotta say.
Right?
Lacey Evans is a gorgeous woman.
Yep.
Not that they're really doing anything together. I'm just saying. In that situation, I'd definitely be jealous of Ric Flair. I'd be like, darn.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, overall, a really good pay-per-view, and I mean, there's some things I didn't really care for. Like, I didn't care for the Drew McIntyre Goldberg match. I thought that was a waste.
I knew it would be a waste, and I knew it would be less than 5 minutes, which it was, because Goldberg's not Goldberg anymore.
No,
he can't do it. I mean, it's just saying the dude's in his 50s. I'm not saying that people in their 50s can't do things. That's what I'm saying, but him, you can tell it takes a toll. Whenever he made the announcement he was going to fight him at the one Raw, he was just sweating, standing in the ring. You see sweat pouring from his head, and I'm like, "You're going to wrestle this young man who's the champion, and I couldn't believe it.
You're sweating just standing there."
Yeah, I mean, his it was just pouring, and he was just standing. All he did was walk down the ramp to the ring. I can understand lights being hot. I mean, I've worked in theater before. I understand that, but
most lights are LEDs now. I mean, typically the lights aren't hot anymore. So I mean,
yeah,
it's.
I'm just like, this is a waste. There's no point to this.
Mm-hmm.
who cares? Why should Drew McIntyre care if Goldberg respects him or not as champion? Who gives a crap? I wouldn't care.
Right.
If I was in that situation, I'd be like, listen, old man, I don't care what you think. Then I would have Claymored him right there in the middle of the ring.
Right. Oh,
I'd like, challenge not accepted because I'll freaking snap you in two, man. Which is technically what happened. I mean, and the match was just, 4 or 5 spears, couple of claymores, 1 jackhammer, and then bam, 1, 2, 3, Goldberg loses. Less than 5 minutes.
Yep. That's pretty much all it was.
I'm glad it was the first match and got it out of the way, but it's still just a waste of time. It shouldn't have even been there. It shouldn't have been on the card. It was just, it's pointless. I hated it. And I knew I would.
So what about that women's match with Sasha Banks and Carmella? Did you see that dive that Carmella took and looked like she broke her fucking neck?
Oh, dude, man, that was the first thing I thought to myself. I was like,
Carmella's
dead.
She's dead.
I was like, not my Carmella, because I love me Carmella. I love me some Carmella.
Yeah,
I love she's fabulous. I love it. And when I saw that, like it bent, like the way it bent, I was like, "What the heck?"
And you could see,
that hurt watching that.
You could see Sasha, but like Sasha mumbling, "Are you okay? Are you okay?"
Oh gosh,
because she did not move for like 5 to 10 seconds. Like I thought, oh my god, she's out.
Yeah,
but then she popped right back up. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You can't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was messed up.
That was scary. It was so scary.
I thought she was seriously injured.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought, oh my god. Oh my god, seriously.
It reminded me of one of those like Play-Doh stretchy things that you can bend. That's the way her neck looked. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I was like, did I just witness Carmella just buying the farm here? No, not my Carmella. Thankfully, she was okay.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully she was not hurt because that could have been very bad just from how it looked. Very, very bad.
I love when her entrance when she's doing the dancing, the silhouette. Sean was watching at the same time before he filmed the episode with y'all, and he sent me a message. He says, "I love this new entrance."
Oh, jeez.
I was like, "Of course you do, Sean. You're a Carmella fan like me."
Oh, that's so good.
I hated that she's with that Reginald, though. I
think the dude's funny. I think that's funny that he gets his ass whooped by the women. I just think it's great.
That part's funny. I just, it seems like they're always trying to like almost put her with somebody. I'm just like, let her just be her,
Yeah.
I mean, she's great just being her.
I mean,
I guess, if you're going to have a whipping boy, I mean,
yeah.
You can't do any worse than Reginald. I mean,
or
do better than him, because anybody else would have been pathetic. But it's just funny with him, though.
I do kind of like that she's got like kind of this manservant, though. I mean, it just kind of just plays into the character. I think, but
I do love it that SmackDown this past Friday, Bianca just spanked his butt with her long hair. It was just great.
Whipped him.
She just started whipping him with it. And you could see when Carmella was in the ring, Carmella had to fight back laughter because she started smiling. She had to get back into character, but I saw it was right there live TV. She's like just trying not to laugh. It's great.
Oh, so good. Oh man. Yeah, so that match was pretty good too. And then I didn't care for the women's tag team match because they've been doing those two teams way too much back and forth. So I'm glad that was on the pre-show just because it's that one's getting old. The Reigns Owens match I thought was pretty good. I thought that one was well put together.
That was good. I was shocked because I mean Roman's been really good as a heel, especially with Paul Heyman.
Yep.
And I just thought it was just going to be the same thing with Brock Lesnar. They're just not going to have Roman talk. It's just going to be Paul. No, man. I mean, Roman Reigns is an evil dude. He is the head of the table. And Paul Heyman, like he's like afraid of Roman Reigns. He's afraid of like upsetting him. And I'm loving this new. This is what they should have done years ago with this guy. Instead of trying to make him the baby face of the company. No, people don't like him. He's not The Rock. He's not. It wasn't going to work out. It never was from the beginning. And this is better. He's better doing promos. This is his element, being a bad guy. Just keep him as a heel.
And
it'll make if Edge wins at WrestleMania, then that'll even make it sweeter.
Yeah. And honestly, I like you said, this should have happened years ago, and this is the right character for him right now to be playing. And them trying to force down the whole babyface thing, telling jokes and all that shit, it didn't work, but Vince kept trying to push it. And if they would have just did this 5 years ago when they should have, who knows where his character would be right now? Maybe he would be the top babyface like they want, you know? Yeah. And it would have translated, you know, over to that over time. But now they got to do it now because they didn't want to listen to the fan base beforehand. So it's like Vince is so out of touch most of the time now. If he would just listen to the fans and what they actually want, you know, he could have been making bank on this. I mean, with that character. And especially with if there were an actual audience right now, could you imagine the hate that he would be getting right now? And
oh my goodness, it would be awesome. Just
it would be so good.
The booze would. I said booze, not alcohol. Let me rephrase that. The heat he would be getting from the audience would just be out of this world.
Yeah, it would be like next level heat.
Yeah,
and it would be so well worth it. And then once they finally start transitioning him in the proper way to be a baby face, it would totally skyrocket his career and how he is the face of the company, because I know that's where they're going with it ultimately. So, and this is the proper way to do it. They just wasted so much time. That's the problem.
Yep.
So, but yeah, his whole program with Kevin Owens has been amazing thus far. I mean, I've totally enjoyed it, even though obviously Kevin isn't gonna win the title or anything like that, but which is sad because he's a great main event guy too. Yeah. But at the same time, I understand wanting to keep the belt on Reigns, especially if he's going to drop it at Mania or something like that. So I totally get it, but yeah, overall, very, very good pay-per-view, and it's been refreshing, especially just with the pandemic and having to do the virtual audience and everything. It was a refreshing time to watch a WWE pay-per-view, just because I haven't watched one since WrestleMania last year when there was nothing. I mean, and WrestleMania last year had some good things about it, but not having a crowd and having it in the fucking Performance Center just kind of ruined it. And I'm glad they split it into 2 nights last year, because that helped to make it an easier pill to swallow. And I kind of like that they're doing two nights this year as well, just to kind of get everything out there. But I know that starting next year, they're supposed to be going back to just 1 night. So we'll see what really happens, because I don't mind the idea of a 2-night WrestleMania weekend kind of thing, but I don't want it to be like this is how it's going to be forever kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, but next year they're going to be in my neck of the woods in Dallas.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about starting.
I need to get.
I'm thinking about putting aside money to go next year, because it would be fun to go down to Dallas for it.
Get some tickets for my nephew and myself and my dad. Maybe. I mean, depending, what seats we can get and how much money.
It'll probably be
out the wazoo.
Yeah, it'll probably be nosebleed, but I mean, it's still an experience for that. Because I remember I was in the when for WrestleMania 33 at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. I had lower level tickets, and it was it wasn't center of the ring. It was off to the right. And kind of almost behind one of the pillars that was holding up the lighting and everything. For the ring and whatnot. So it's kind of there, but I could still see the ring clearly. Those were $800 for 2 tickets.
Whew.
Yeah. And that was aftermarket. So obviously if I would have gotten it beforehand, it would have probably been a little bit cheaper. But yeah, because I got them like 3 months before the event, after they had already gone on sale like 2 or 3 months before that, there was definitely some markup, which was fine. I mean, sometime I'd love to get like floor seats so I could get the commemorative chair, but those are fucking $1,000 a piece at minimum. So, and that's before they go aftermarket. So
yeah,
but yeah, WrestleMania is an experience, and like it was fun going to their Access event, even though you only get a 4-hour block to go. It's a little spendy, but you get to get up close and personal with a lot of things, like a lot of ring use stuff or sets. I mean, they had the Elimination Chamber set up when I went. They had the old Raw set with the RAW letters from like the mid '90s. They had the shark cage from the whole Chris Jericho thing from a few years ago. So you got to go inside of that and take pictures with it. They had an actual ring set up for NXT, so they were doing like wrestling events throughout the time that you were there for the 4-hour period and everything. And plus they have the whole WrestleMania store and everything, so it's like basically a WWE shop just with a huge store front. So you could just go in and buy gear and T-shirts and replica belts and all this other stuff. It's a great experience. Very easy to spend a lot of fucking money, though. That is for sure, but it's definitely great.
You think I could get a picture of Lacey Evans or Carmella kissing me on both cheeks?
I doubt it, but you could try.
At the same time, and then I can like send it to people I don't like and say, look, I'm a stud. You guys are losers. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that.
Oh, man, that's good. But
I could dream.
Right? But yeah, I mean, beyond that, you obviously have WrestleCon, which is always around wherever WrestleMania is. So they have everybody that's not obviously going to be at Access. So everybody from the industry. And it's a huge event. And like when I went to WrestleMania, because I didn't want to drive to the stadium because I did not want to fucking deal with driving with all that. Yeah. I didn't stay at the hotel where WrestleCon was, but they do like a shuttle to WrestleMania. So I paid $100 just to be on a freaking coach bus and drive to WrestleMania.
To the stadium.
Yep.
That's actually cool though, so you don't have to drive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys drive to the hotel or whatever, but
yep.
So I'm waiting for tickets to finally go on sale because as soon as that was announced, I immediately was like looking up Google tickets to WrestleMania 38. They're like, there are no events. I was like, darn, they're not even doing tickets yet.
So during a normal year, obviously pandemic not included, the WrestleMania tickets I think go on sale in November.
Oh, okay. So
I would be looking maybe around that time. But
sounds good.
Definitely doesn't hurt to check every once in a while, though, because who knows with how things are. So.
You never know.
But, yeah, so overall, not WrestleMania, but Royal Rumble was great. And I'm looking forward to WrestleMania this year because having fans back in attendance, even if it's only going to be 25,000, I think is going to help bring that whole atmosphere back. So
yeah, it's something the wrestlers can actually, react to.
Yep, agreed.
I mean, that's a big part of the experience right there is just them reacting to the audience. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. But it's going to be exciting to see what they do here. I'm excited just to see WrestleMania be WrestleMania again. So, and not at a performance center or in the Thunderdome because it would have been great.
I do like the Thunderdome. At least it feels like a regular stadium for the most part.
Right.
Other than the giant TV screens showing people's faces.
Yeah.
But I prefer that than the performance center because that was just ugh.
Well, I didn't mind the performance center once they actually started adding people in there, even if it was just NXT people, because at least it was people reacting. I mean. And
but for big events like Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views, it really needs to be in a big setting. And the Performance Center wasn't a big setting.
No, and I totally agree. But for what they had to work with at the time, I mean, they should have. Well, hindsight 2020. But I mean, it helped just to have.
Well, they didn't have a choice. I mean, it's not like it's their fault. I mean,
right? No, I'm not saying that they are.
It was just a mess. But
right. But it would have.
Like, I prefer a bigger stadium like that. Just the big feel of it.
Yep. Agreed.
I mean, because it's supposed to be the show of shows, and then you got in the small venue. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, it was tough. It was.
You know, it is what it is. It was what it what? How do you say it?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It was what it was. Thankfully, it's going to be getting back to somewhat of a normality.
Yeah. Hopefully sooner than later, but we'll see. With that being said, I do have just one piece of news to kind of talk about here before we get into talking about the Naked Gun series here. So obviously we know that this past year, Second Sight Films brought out the limited edition Dawn of the Dead set that was $99. So actually next month, on March 22nd, they are releasing a standard edition version of that. So that's going to only include the 3 4K discs for the movies, plus the Blu-ray for the special features. So same exact 4 discs from the limited edition. The only thing it's not going to have is the CDs for the soundtracks and the 2 books. So that's really the only thing that's different. And it's coming at a price point of like $43.99, and it's up for pre-order on Diabolic right now. So, I almost pre-ordered it myself, but then I just stopped myself because I was like, there are rumors, there are trickling rumors that we're finally going to get our own set here in the U.S. Even though 4K is region free, but I was like, I'll just wait. Yeah.
I mean, I've got the Anchor Bay Blu-ray, so I'm not in like a super rush. I mean, I've got DVDs of it, and it's not like I don't have the movie.
Right. But if you missed out on the limited edition and you wanted to get it, you still have the option of getting the standard edition starting March 22nd, and you can pre-order it right now. So I just wanted to bring that up really quick because I know that went really fast. I'm glad I was able to get it just because I really wanted that pretty bad. And the artwork on the box is pretty cool too. So definitely pick that up if you were looking for that and are okay with just getting the standard edition without the books and the CDs. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the Naked Gun series. So starting off with the Naked Gun, that was released December 2nd, 1988, directed by David Zucker. The cast included Leslie Nielsen, George Kennedy, Priscilla Presley, O.J. Simpson, and Ricardo Montalban. Had a budget of about $12 million and grossed almost $79 million worldwide during its initial run. Just a little bit of trivia regarding the first movie. While Frank is impersonating an Empire, the batter swings back and hits Frank in the face. That joke was actually suggested by Mel Brooks to use in that movie, which I think is great because Mel Brooks is a comedic genius. And for him to, give any kind of input is always great. Now, Ricardo Montalban was actually cast as the main antagonist, Vincent Ludwig, because of his performance as Khan in The Wrath of Khan from 1982. So I thought that was interesting that he was cast because of that movie, which is great because he's a great actor, And
Yes.
then finally, the last piece of trivia I had for the first movie here is the terrorist organization in the beginning that Frank attacks and beats up in the opening scene was a nod to Spectre, the terrorist organization from James Bond. And that just to kind of kick things off, that whole opening scene is so funny, but it's so random. And it's like, he's just a fucking police officer, but it's so funny and so great. And just beats the shit out of everybody in that scene. It's so awesome and just sets the tone for the whole movie. But, and then it just kind of goes from there. And the thing I love about this movie is definitely it doesn't take itself seriously because obviously it's a parody. And, just kind of in the same vein as Airplane, it's just kind of one of those senseless, like, comedies you can just kind of just sit there, zone out, and not really need to worry about anything because you're just there to basically laugh. What are your thoughts on the movie, Ted?
It's great. Just the jokes, the double entendres you have here. I mean, nice beaver. And she's like, "Oh, thank you." And she's wanting a stuffed beaver. I mean, come on, jeez, that's fantastic. O.J. Simpson being completely accident prone, just
oh my god, that scene was so hilarious when he
Even
gets shot.
at the end when he's in the wheelchair and he rolls down the stadium on the stairs. Ah! Oh, it's fantastic. I mean,
so good.
you have the full body condoms when Frank and her making love. Oh my goodness! I remember the first time I saw that movie. It was on TV.
Mhm.
That scene came up. I was like a little kid. I was like, "What? What is this? This is weird. Why are they in rubber?"
Right? Not knowing what was going on,
I mean,
really.
Yeah, it's like 6 or 7 or something like that. I'm like, "What is this?" That just confused me as an adult. It's so flippin' hilarious.
Right? Oh, man. And then...
the first movie's is the classic. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And then one thing I do love about the series is how they include Weird Al in every single movie. He's got some kind of cameo in each of the movies. I know the second one he doesn't play himself, but the first and the third one he plays himself. 'Cause I remember the second one, I think he gets hit in the face with the door or something like that when Frank is coming in to a room somewhere. But yeah, we can talk more about the second one here in a little bit, but I mean, everything with this first movie.
Won't we talk about it much? I totally screwed up the schedule, thinking we were doing nerds.
It's all right. We'll make this work. Yeah, I mean, like that whole ending with the first movie, it is so great when they're at the baseball game with Queen Elizabeth and everything, and like Leslie Nielsen being the umpire, just frisking all the players on the field is just hilarious. Like when the pitcher throws the first pitch and everybody's just completely silent, wait for him to make the call, and he's like, strike. The crowd just erupts, and he just starts showboating after that every time. Strike two.
He's so proud of himself.
Starts doing the moonwalk and everything. Oh my god, it's so good. Other than that, I thought Priscilla Presley was a great choice for kind of the love interest for Leslie Nielsen in this, and just how like that first scene with her when she falls down the stairs. Like, I was watching it this weekend, I just fucking died laughing because I forgot all about that scene. Just trying to look all elegant and just trips and falls down the whole flight of stairs. So good. And walking into walls and stuff. It's oh my god. It's so funny. I mean, it's not like, I don't think it's as good as Airplane by any means, but I fucking love this movie. And it's so good. And then like the other scene with this movie that really sticks out to me is the chase scene when the doctor's trying to kill Nordberg in the hospital. And he obviously chases him out, and the doctor steals a car, and then Drebin stops a car to have them start following the doctor, and ends up being a fucking teen driver just learning how to drive. And she's just so like start stop, not really knowing how to drive. And then they try going down in the tunnel, and then that semi comes up, and the guy who's the driving instructor is just so calm and just like just step by step telling her how to put it in reverse, and then stepping on the accelerator to back up, and then instructing her on how to flip the guy off too, which was great. And then then she like just puts the pedal to the metal, going back after the doctor and everything. And then the dude crashes into a gas truck, then crashes into a fucking truck with a missile on it, and flies into a fucking fireworks store. I mean, that whole scene is just so bonkers, and it's so good. And it's just, it's stuff like that I just love. Because, like, I love, like, stupid comedies like this. I think they're just so good. And I just... Like, I do love, like, smart comedies and stuff like that, or stuff like Ghostbusters, like that we talked about last week. But there's just a lot of the time where I just need to, like, just unplug my brain, basically, and just laugh. And it's stuff like this that makes it really, really easy to do that. So definitely highly suggest, especially the first Naked Gun if you haven't seen it, because it's definitely well worth it. Any thoughts from you on the first one here?
It's fantastic. Go see it if you have not seen it. Coming soon to a theater near you.
Or not.
Well, you don't know. They've been showing older movies a lot lately.
That's true. They have been doing that a lot lately.
Next week they're showing My Bloody Valentine.
Really?
Valentine's weekend.
The original?
I was thinking, okay, if I go to Justin, Texas and meet Lisa Wilcox, then I can go and see My Bloody Valentine.
Huh.
As a birthday gift to me.
I should take a look and see if they're showing that around here, because I would definitely go to the movies to see that, because it's been a while since I watched it.
The original, yeah.
Okay. I'll have to take a look and see after we finish this episode.
Will you be my Valentine? Creepy ending. That ending always creeps me out, and he's just laughing into the abyss.
Yeah.
Everybody else is on the other side, and he cuts off his own arm, and he just, will you be my Valentine? Just like, darn. Did he get caught? We'll never know.
Right?
Until John Carpenter is like, I'm going to make a direct sequel. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
He's been in a insane asylum this entire time. Then he escapes because true crime people come to
Yeah.
to interview. All right, my dumb joke's over.
All right. Sounds good. All right, so that's the first Naked Gun. So next we're going to talk about Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear. That was released June 28th, 1991, directed again by David Zucker. Obviously, you have back Leslie Nielsen, George Kennedy, Priscilla Presley, and O.J. Simpson. This time joining them is Robert Goulet and Richard Griffiths. This one had a budget, it was a little bit more than the first movie, so you had about $23 million for the budget and grossed about $87 million worldwide. So as I talked about a little bit when we were talking about the first movie, Weird Al has a brief role as a thug, and he says, "Okay, pigs, say your prayers." And that's when Frank slams the door open, knocking Yankovic's character to the floor. He said, so Yankovic actually said that scene took about 20 takes, and by the time that they were done, his like leg was like black and blue. And the stunt coordinator actually asked at that point if he wanted to wear some padding, just because of what was happening. And so I thought that was interesting. It's always interesting to hear stuff like that about behind the scenes stuff like that, and basically somebody who normally doesn't do stunts doing a stunt like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So besides that, during the ghost parody scene, the footage of a train driving into a tunnel and fireworks exploding are the same as those used as in the implied sex scene in Big Top Pee-wee. So they reuse the same footage basically. And then the last piece of trivia was during the opening credits sequence, where obviously the police car is kind of driving around in just weird situations. At the end, Zsa Zsa Gabor is slapping the police car. This spoofs a 1989 incident where Gabor was actually arrested for slapping a police officer and driving with an expired license. So I thought that was pretty funny. But Richard Griffiths plays basically two different characters in this one. Dr. Meinheimer and Earl Hacker, those were the names. So you had him playing two characters in this. Robert Goulet was basically like a love interest for Jane in this, and that whole like dynamic with Frank and Jane throughout the series is so good. And like I was saying, I think Priscilla Presley was like the right choice for this this character, and it plays so well over the three movies. Well, the funny thing is, with the second and third one, I actually just watched these about a month ago, and I'm just totally drawing a blank right now, which doesn't help things, I just didn't have quite enough time to watch these all the movies. I definitely watched the first one, actually.
At least you watched them within the time frame.
Right.
The first movie is because that's the big one. That's the one that you watch over and over and over and over and over, or you see on TV over, and that's like ingrained in your brain. The sequels, not so much, and it's been a long time.
Well, and the thing with the sequels is they're not as good as the first one. Honestly.
They're not.
I mean,
they get worse each time. I mean, I know usually people are like, well, that's how sequels usually go. Yeah, but usually, you don't really think about it if you're really enjoying it. But that's just how,
right.
And
the thing I think that kind of hinders it. I mean, yes, they are supposed to be slapstick, and definitely parody movies, but with especially three gets really, really over the top, and it almost kind of detracts from it in a way. And
it becomes like a giant cartoon, essentially live action cartoon.
Pretty much. And one of the biggest things I think about is the bed. Didn't Jane get thrown out the window or something like that? If I remember,
something like that.
Yeah, it's just like it just goes a little too over the top with 3. I mean, 2 is almost kind of a mixture of what made the first one so good, but then what really made the third one not good. I mean, it's just the quality just kind of slowly declines. Because I like the story with the second one, because you had the whole energy program and whatnot. Because I believe the beginning of the movie starts with Drebin being honored at the White House. And
is that where he gives the Queen the Heimlich, but it looks like they're being intimate with each other. the way it comes off.
I believe
he's like, come on there, take it. He's like, take it. And he's like trying to do the Heimlich on her, but the way it just looks like they're just being highly inappropriate.
Yeah.
That part I do remember.
Yeah, and I think it was Mrs. Bush. I think is who.
Oh, it was Mrs. Bush, not the Queen.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Because it was President Bush.
Honoring him.
Yep, honoring him for that. And they were talking about Dr. Meinheimer's energy program and all that. And they kind of went from there. And then after that's when you find out, or not find out, but Frank reacquaints himself with Jane as he interviews her for an explosion that happened. And excuse me. And then you find out that Jane's boyfriend is Robert Goulet, basically. And that whole thing just happens. And obviously Frank blows a chance to promptly make up with her and all that. And
I'm wondering with the over the top stuff, I wonder if they felt like they had to compete with the Hot Shot movies that were coming out at the same time. Because you had Hot Shots and then you had Hot Shots Part Deux, which Part Deux was so just out there, but it was great. I mean, you had Saddam Hussein having a lightsaber fight with Lloyd Bridges. So just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if they thought they had to go over the top to try and compete with that, full cartoony type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. I mean, there was quite a few spoof movies coming around that time, because you had obviously the Hot Shots movies, but I mean, you had a lot of National Lampoon movies coming out too. I mean, you had National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1.
But those National Lampoon movies really weren't fully well received either. Everybody loved Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part Deux.
Yep.
I remember when Part Deux came out, people just wouldn't stop talking about it. You know, it was the funniest thing ever at the time.
Oh yeah.
To most people, those National Lampoon movies, you had they were really on the downward slide there, because you had Senior Trip, which I personally like Senior Trip, but it's on the lower end of the National Lampoon movies.
That's when it was really bottom of the barrel or getting towards it.
Yeah,
but I was more referring to Loaded Weapon 1 from the early 90s with Samuel L. Jackson and
Emilio
Estevez. Yeah.
I completely forgot about that movie too. Yeah,
because that one was great, and I wanted to bring it up when we talked about Lethal Weapon in December, because it was. I actually saw that movie before I saw Lethal Weapon, and so because I thought they were obviously as a little kid you're thinking, oh, these are got to be the same movies,
thing. Yeah.
you know. And yeah, so I fucking loved Loaded Weapon 1. It was I watched that so much as a kid. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was great.
Blondes Have More Guns. That's another spoof that came out. There's like a
Yep.
gag like, in every scene of that movie.
Yep.
I have that on DVD. I remember that. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it was pretty much becoming prevalent. But I still think like they were like, Hot Shots. We got to be like Hot Shots, or we got to compete with Hot Shots.
Yeah,
that's just my take on it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's like 2.5 rather is what it's called. The Smell of Fear. I don't remember. It's not that I don't remember. It's just not a memorable movie in my opinion. You know.
Yeah.
It's because like
not as quotable.
No, and honestly, 33 1/3 I remember a lot more from than I do part 2 or 2.5. But it's not necessarily for good reasons. Because I mean, 3 is not a good movie, I don't think, in my opinion. I still laugh at it, and it's still fun to watch every once in a while. But it's like one that I'll watch like once every 4 or 5 years, and I'm like, okay, I don't need to watch this again for a long time, you know. Whereas the first one, I could watch that probably almost every month if I wanted to.
Didn't part 3 have the unfortunate, just the bad luck to be released like 2 weeks or so before the whole O.J. Simpson thing happened?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was, because it was because it was still in theaters when all that went down, like the Bronco chase and all that stuff, right? If I'm not mistaken.
If it wasn't right before, it was a little bit before that, but yeah, I mean, it was right around the same time.
It was the same year, I know that. I mean, it was 94.
Yep.
The same year. So,
yeah, that was some bad publicity.
People are like, I don't want to watch O.J. Simpson. I'll still watch O.J. Simpson. I mean,
yeah.
But, you know, I'm not going to be friends with the guy.
No, definitely not. But yeah, so it's hard because part 2, I'm just going to call it part 2. I don't fucking care. It's just so not memorable. I mean, it has a couple like memorable things about it with like the two characters played by Robert Griffiths. I thought that was great. And obviously, Drebin and Jane's like relationship I thought was funny, and it's funny throughout all 3 movies. But beyond that, there's just nothing really memorable, really about it, like the first one. But now, if you look at part 3, now this one was released in March 18th, 1994, and so instead of I don't know if necessarily this kind of fed into it because it definitely felt a little bit different, and it definitely felt more cartoony. But instead of David Zucker directing this one, it was directed by Peter Siegel. Obviously, you had Leslie Nielsen, Priscilla Presley, George Kennedy, and O.J. Simpson back. I mean, you had Kathleen Freeman, who was great in like everything that she does. Fred Ward was in it too, which he's great. And then you had Anna Nicole Smith, who was, you know, like the hot thing at the time, you know, with her whole Playboy career and all that. So
you should have just said Anna Nicole Smith. They have Anna Nicole Smith. Just like,
right.
She's
but
great.
So this one had a budget of like $30 million and only grossed $51 million. So at this point, you know, it's not making as much money, obviously, as the second one did, and it's a significant number less, just based on, you know, they spent almost $7 million more and made almost $30 million less or something like that at the box office. So now just a little bit of trivia with the third one is in the making of featurette, it was revealed that real biker gangs were used to get the look of real prisoners for the prison fight scene. It was unknown at the time, but there were 4 rival gangs in that scene. However, no incidents actually occurred, which was good to know. But that's really interesting that they actually hired just real gang members to be a part of that scene, which is very, very interesting. On the day of shooting of the 1970s flashback scene, which had that huge ass afro, like with the bell bottoms and everything. So George Kennedy actually came down with a pneumonia and he was so sick he couldn't even walk. So if you watch that scene, you'll see him sitting throughout that whole scene. And when Ed is supposed to be leaving, he just simply just leaned back out of the shot to create the illusion that he was getting up to leave. Just because he was so sick that he could not like even stand up.
What a trooper.
Right? That scene is probably one of my favorites in the movie, though, is that flashback scene to the 70s. They just look so ridiculous because they look so fucking old, number one, and they're just trying to make they try to make the characters look young, and that's one thing I do like about the movie. As for as terrible as the movie is, I like that they went that route just to, like, you know, not even try to hide the fact that they're old right now, but just tried to make them look younger with, like, wigs and stuff. I thought that was great. And then the final
reminds me of the Wet Hot American Summer stuff. Whenever they made the first day at camp, and of course everybody was 15 years older, but they're still all playing teenagers.
Yep.
You can tell like the Michael Showalter who plays Coop has like gained weight over the years, and they just don't hide it. They even make a joke. They're like, "Yep, after this summer, we're all gonna feel 15 years younger."
Yep.
It's so stupid, but it's funny. I love Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah. And then the final piece of trivia I had for this movie is the flashback scene from Frank and Jane's wedding was the real ending for 2.5, The Smell of Fear. They didn't use it on that movie, but inserted it as a scene in this one. At the same time, the scene featuring Frank, Jane, and Frank Jr. Getting to their house was the original ending for this movie, but the producers didn't think that the boy, Frank Jr., he didn't look funny enough, so they decided to go with the hospital ending and use this ending in the middle of the movie. So that was just a little trivia regarding that. So because the kid didn't look funny enough, they decided that wasn't the good ending. So, I mean,
poor kid.
Right? Whatever that fucking means. So,
yeah.
So this one kind of starts off, you have Frank retiring from police squad and is seeming to live a happy life with Jane. But under the surface, he's kind of just unfulfilled, which is very obvious in the movie. And like, obviously, Ed and Norbert come to visit and want help with an investigation. And so that kind of brings him to finally come out of retirement, basically. And then, you know, he visits the clinic, or was it a sperm bank? I think it was a sperm bank, if I'm remembering right. Like I said, it's been a couple months since I've watched this one, but yeah, it was a sperm bank, and oh my god, this fucking movie! I swear to God, it's just so over the top with everything. Like I said, this movie I can watch every once every maybe few years, but at that point, that's all I can do, and it almost just gets to be too much, you know. And I like this one has the whole Academy Awards thing, which I thought that was great because they have the whole thing with the lady from the Brady Bunch. When her category comes up for the thing, they do the thing like they do in the opening credits for the Brady Bunch, where she's looking at the other squares basically, and she's in the middle.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a funny little thing that they did there. Honestly, with this movie, it's not as it's obviously not as memorable. It's the third one in the series, and it kind of just goes downhill from the first one. I'm sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. It is what it is. I mean, it's not a great movie. It's got its moments though, with like the sperm bank, which is honestly hilarious, and Frank trying to be the house husband and that not really going well, and I think that was hilarious. But then it's got like the super over the top moments that we were talking about. It's just, it gets so a little too over the top at times, especially with this third one. But I don't know. It's not one I go back to often, you know. But I still have fun when I watch it. When I do watch it, it's just not often. What do you think, just from what you remember?
I view 2 and 3 as the same, as pretty much equals, because you can't. There's no way you're going to top that first one. That first movie is just great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so quotable and so many great scenes. I mean, if I had to rank them, it would be 1, 2, and 3, and 2 and 3 just being equals because there's just no way. I love over the top cartoony stuff. I mean, I do, but it really depends on the context of everything. And you got people falling down stairs. That's funny. And you got people being thrown through like multiple story windows. You're like, okay, that's a little over the top compared to what the show used to be. I mean, it's like the same criticism that people have for like Married with Children, how the later years it got really cartoony, which I love.
Yeah.
I love those later Married Children, like with No Ma'am and all that stuff, and they're always falling off the roof and stuff. It's just always funny to me. But I mean, they're not falling out of skyscrapers though.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, whatever. 2 and 3 are equal. 1's the best. That's how I would leave it.
Yeah, I would go the same way. Definitely, the first one is the best. 2 and 3, very, very close to each other, just in quality and kind of memorability too. Just because I don't think they're as great, but the first one is definitely great. But yeah, I mean, definitely first one. I would probably, if I were to like rate it, not even including the second and third one, I would probably rate it like 4 out of 5. Just for quality wise. I mean, it's a really, really good movie. But yeah, the 2 and 3, they're probably maybe 2 out of 5. But yeah, definitely ranking them 1, 2, and then 3 ultimately. Yeah, that's all I really got to say about them. But we would love to know what you guys think as well. You can always feel free to reach out to us through our social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at CLS Podcast. Next week, we'll be back for week 3 of our comedy series. We'll be looking at that point at Revenge of the Nerds and its sequels. So that'll be good. I've got those already lined up to watch actually over the next few days because it's been a long time since I've watched Revenge of the Nerds. So, and I remember loving the first 2. I don't remember much about the made-for-TV movies though. So those will be interesting to revisit. So I'm super pumped for that.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
I'm hoping so. But are there any final words of wisdom as we leave?
Watch Naked Gun, and if you want to, watch Naked Gun 2 and 3.
Simple
Have a
enough.
free will, darn it. Just do what you want to do.
Right. All right. Well,
why are you looking to me for wisdom? Why are you always looking at me? Think for yourself, man.
Jesus. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week.
This episode of the Crystal Lake Soldiers podcast is brought to you by the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. Check us out at www.clspodcast.com or join in the conversation on social media. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at CLS Podcast. Until next time, stay safe, campers.